So when you were growing up, I was wondering, did you guys ever wonder about what your childhood home or even your neighborhood looked like before all those houses or those sidewalks or the mailboxes or your neighbor's dog? So I did, and I grew up in New England. And so for me, I was always super curious about the forests that were there before the houses and even the forests that were there before colonization. Now, to understand how humans and societies have changed and developed, we can read books or interpret oral histories that transcend time. But to understand how the natural world has changed and developed, we really don't have those records and those resources. So we have to look into how it's recorded in the Earth system to really understand what has happened in the past. So I am fascinated with the past. I think it can tell us so much, not only about our world, but also how our world might change in the future. I'm a paleoclimatologist, a climate historian, if you will. And I really try and understand how the climate fluctuates naturally and changes from year to year and decade to decade, but also how human influences might affect this in the future. I specifically work in the coastal northeastern United States and looking at temperature and hurricanes of that area. I look at the layers of sand and mud at the bottom of coastal ponds, as well as take samples from hundreds of trees that line the eastern seaboard, and take my chainsaw to these old subfossil logs to get cross-sections. Looking at the cores and the cross-sections, I can look at the annual rings, and these rings will tell me about the climate of that year, going back in the past. From this, I will create a storm and temperature record that goes back thousands of years. So this work is becoming more and more important as a society we are beginning to grapple with all these new climate extremes and a changing baseline of our climate system. And to understand how fast and by how much we're changing, we need to know what happened before, as well as to understand how our climate system has worked when ocean temperatures and surface temperatures were similarly high. This work is particularly important for coastal communities, New York and Boston, that are really at risk for things like sea level rise, as well as warming temperatures and increased hurricane impacts. The Carson Scholarship has given me the tools so that I can effectively communicate my research to those people that need it the most, like community planners and land managers. As a scientist and communicator in one, I can more easily contact these groups and learn from them as I hope they will learn from me. I get to live out my childhood dream every day by time traveling, but time traveling to reconstruct climate. And more importantly, I can make sure that my research is applicable as well as important and effective by communicating with people like yourselves. My name is Jessie Pearl, and I am a paleoclimatologist, a dendrochronologist, a geologist, and a Carson scholar working on my Ph.D. at the University.